Hi, you're welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Woman Show, the place to be to birth and grow into the woman of your dreams, that woman God had in mind when He created you. My name, as always, is Iphie Adizue, and as usual, I am your hostess, anyone you want. This week, we are going to be talking about something very interesting. I always say that, right? But the topics are interesting anyway. But this week, we are talking about a career. So the question is, how do I get my boss to like me? And thinking about it, I'm sure this is coming from someone who has, some bosses that they're just like really like the devil in Prada. And some bosses that are just really terrible. No matter how hard you try to, win their heart, how hard you try to be in their good books, they just simply hate you, sometimes for no reason. And we also know that, even though, in work environments, everybody is evaluated based on performance, there is some level of emotional affinity between yourself and your manager that helps you in the long run, either in your personal growth, either in your evaluation, but that part is actually good. Plus, if you're going to be working 8 hours for somebody, you spend much more time at work than you do with your family. It makes sense that you work for someone that you love to work with, or someone that you enjoy working with, or at a minimum, someone that you can just stand their presence, right? So, how do you get your manager to love you? How do you get your boss to love you? I'm going to be sharing 3 tips today. The first one in getting your boss to love you is you need to be able to solve their biggest headache. What's your boss's biggest headache today? What is that thing that is on his or her work plan that is the thing that he or she needs to do for him or her to shine before her own boss? Sounds very funny. Long story short, what's that thing that is most important to that person? So think about your work today. So let's say you were working in a bank and you were in customer service. Your manager's top priority would most likely be the fact that, there's good reports from people that come into the bank and all that. How can you help your manager get that? That should be your greatest goal. How do you get your manager? How do you solve your manager's biggest headache? Think about it in the scope of what you do. The second thing is, always make your manager look good before his or her own bosses. How can you do this? Sometimes there are always all these big meetings, especially when you have a manager that has so many people under them and they really are not into the details. Before all those big meetings, share as much information as they would need, proactively so you know that he or she is going to have this big meeting with the board and they are going to want to know XYZ things about the business, which he might not be that close to, but those details. Share those details up front. When you're in meetings, truthfully, when you're in meetings and then his or her own superiors are also there, as much as possible, your boss is always right. You can correct him or her outside the meeting, but in any fora, make sure you make your manager look good before his or her own superiors. Thirdly, you need to be indispensable and reliable. The question to ask yourself is, does the company you work for today, or does your manager that you work for today, do they need you, or is it you that needs them? If right now you're the one that needs them, you need to flip it. Your manager needs to need you. The manager needs to think of something and immediately think, oh my God, Bimbo is who I need. Bimbo is the one that can do this. Bimbo is the only one that if I give this task to, then it's going to get done. Bimbo is the only one. You need to be indispensable. This puts you in a good place. Obviously, within the scope and boundaries of your own personal life. So for example, you're a mom, you have kids. Your manager needs to know that, okay, I can't send this to Bimbo by 9 o'clock because it's family time. But if I give it to Bimbo first in the morning, 8 o'clock, I'm sure she will get it done for me by 9:10. So you need to be indispensable, but manage it within the scope of your own personal boundaries. In summary, 3 things that we talked about. Number 1, you need to solve your boss's biggest headache. Second one, you need to make your boss look good always, especially before his or her own superiors. Thirdly, you need to be indispensable and reliable. I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you as to why that boss, that one with the can actually love you. So, as usual, if you want more tips on how to become that uncommon woman, the 21st century virtuous woman, our website is always available, www.sharevirtuosity.com. Remember, there's a big God that's just there, waiting to back you up. So arise and shine, baby girl. See you next week. Bye.